Recent years, Native American communities across the country have been shining a light on the underreported amount of missing and murdered Indigenous people in those communities. Now, earlier this week, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced training sessions with a free national missing persons database across 4 Montana reservations. The service is called the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs. The free service has been in operation since 2007 and specializes in keeping track of missing people across the country. NamUs also offers free forensic lab work like DNA analysis. At 4 Montana reservations, a representative will teach people about the system and how to track information about a missing loved one. The training sessions will span November 6th through the 8th, making stops at the Blackfeet Community College in Browning, Rocky Boys Stone Child College in Box Elder, the Fort Belknap Agency Community Building in Harlem, and the Fort Peck Tribal Complex in Poplar. Now, all services that the database provides are free of cost to the public and law enforcement professionals will with the state of Montana. Now, turning now to weather with Rob Griggs. It's 4 weeks away until Red Lodge opens, and it seems the season might be a good one considering they have some snow up there already.
Yeah, boy, February started early this year.
Sure did.
It started right at the end of September, and this February weather just keeps on going. I kind of hope we get past this and actually have fall at some point, but as you can see right now, there's a couple of gaps in that radar picture from around Cut Bank down between Great Falls and Billings, but there is some rain changing to snow. As far as estimates for snowfall in the Billings area, maybe 1 to 2 inches, but you notice higher concentrations, especially on the north-facing slopes south of I-90. Could see 3 to 5 inches of snow overnight before tomorrow morning, and other locations from that little swath from northwest Montana down toward Sheridan, Wyoming, a couple of inches. So as we look across the board tonight, we're going to drop down to around 30 degrees with a chance of snow. We might pick up an inch by morning. We'll have the complete forecast for you in just a bit, Zoe.
Thank you, Rob. This month marks the 30th anniversary of the Velvet Revolution, marking the end of communism in the Czechoslovakia, freeing them and forming the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Last week, a poll shows that about 1/3 of millennials have a favorable view of communism. Q2's David J. talked with 2 Slovakian men who were surprised by that poll.
Milan Čičel talks about his life in Slovakia, which, along with the Czech Republic, was once part of Czechoslovakia.
We've been invited to celebrate, commemorate that what's happening 30 years ago when our road to the freedom or inner freedom started.
Čičel and Josef Lupták lived under communism in Czechoslovakia until 1989.
Once I've been identified as one who is not in favor of the communism. So the secret police was really interrogated me about 9 years, so that was not very pleasant.
They say life is better in a democratic parliamentary republic, but still has challenges.
We see how slow the process goes and how much new evil things. And sometimes it led into the very tragic moments, like, killing the journalists 2 years ago.
A recent Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation poll shows that 36% of millennials in America view communism favorably.
They are ignorant to the history, but the history proved the lesson already that communism doesn't work.
For me, it's tragic because I think they didn't have experience. Our society didn't share what was happening 30 years ago enough with the young people. It was Iron Curtain, we couldn't travel, it was not freedom of speech, everything was controlled, censored, so I wouldn't like to go back to that.
Scary. They need to listen to Milan.
Bill Simmons has been visiting Slovakia for 20 years, and his company has sponsored a series of lectures in Billings.
There's this strange lack of memory that seems to be surfacing, and now there's an unease about it. So I just think it would be extraordinary if we could all know what has happened and is happening and what they can share with us.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Thank you, David. And he says the Velvet Revolution peaceful transition was from November 17th to 29th in 1989. The rattling of antlers to attract deer is a relatively uncommon hunting technique in Montana. The hope is to attract deer to the sounds of a mock fight in progress. In this week's Flashback, Bill Thomas takes us out of hunting to see if we can rattle up a big buck.
To the big buck, these sounds offer the hope of breeding. He's heard them before and can imagine two other bucks with swollen necks lunging at one another in a fight for dominance and breeding rights. The hunter hopes to trick the buck with this mock battle.
These white-tailed bucks during the rut and actually before the rut spend some amount of time fighting each other and testing each other and establishing hierarchies and attracting does during the breeding season. And apparently, when deer do this to each other deer come to watch, kind of like a gladiator fight or something.
Part of the intrigue for this kind of wildlife calling is that you never know when something's going to happen.
Well, rattling whitetails is really a lot of fun. They always surprise you. Just when you think nothing's going to happen, something does happen. And when you think you're going to get something to happen, nothing does.
Well, a lot of success is in believing in the technique.
I got lucky, the second time. Had a buck come right in on me. And my adrenaline was pumping so hard that I haven't forgotten it since.
Bill Thomas, out amongst Montana's fish, wildlife, and parks.
Thomas says that there are a couple of things hunters should keep in mind if you're going to try rattling. Make sure you're wearing orange safety clothing and be on the lookout for mountain lions. They may stalk you, and the sounds of the simulated deer fight you're creating. Well, stay with us. More to come on the 5:30 news. After setting back your clocks this morning, you might feel like winter is already here. After the break, find out why this may cause you to fall back into some old habits.
You're watching MTN News with Zoe Zandora, Storm Tracker weather with Rob Griggs, and sports with Casey Conlon. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.